Hey yo, what is up FPG fam? Further here and welcome back to another Aether Gazer video. Today I did want to give my review of chapter 12. It's going to be a non-spoiler review, so you don't have to worry. I'm also not going to show any type of clips or scenes from the chapter. I do encourage and implore you to do the story yourself and make sure you're paying attention in its entirety. But once again, it's going to be a non-spoiler review, so you don't have to worry. I just want to go ahead and give you my thoughts and opinions on it. Because this is honestly one of the first times where I really sat down, and I have the full VOD on the channel if you want to go ahead and see it for yourself and see my reactions to certain scenes and what happened in the story. But this was honestly one of the first times where I sat down and I fully immersed and paid attention to the story and read everything and made sure I was paying attention to everything. I didn't skip not one scene or one line in the story itself. And I have to say, this is indeed peak Aether Gazer. I know people were saying that, and I was cautiously optimistic, but it was true. Once again, I'm going to give you my full review and opinions, but I want to give you a background and context of me when it comes to stories and games, because once again, this is the first time where I sat down and really did this. Usually when I pick up a brand new video game, especially a brand new gacha game, I usually skip the story and do not pay attention to it. I don't really immerse myself in it because my main focus is always the gameplay, and my main focus is always end builds and end game, so I can provide you content on that. So I usually skip the story to get to those parts, because usually, especially in a gacha game, the story locks a lot of that content. You have to complete certain parts of the story in order to get to the other part of the content for it to unlock. So I'm usually speed running through it, and admittedly I did do that with Aether Gazer to an extent. With Aether Gazer, I paid attention to the story a little bit more than I would with other games, but I was skipping a lot of the text and a lot of the story to get to that part. But this one, once again, just because of how many people, especially on the CN side, were talking good things about this chapter in particular, and how they told me this is where Aether Gazer's story really picks up, and this is the good part, and you want to pay attention. So I wanted to make sure I gave it an honest shot. I wanted to make sure that I paid attention to everything that it had to entail, make sure I was immersed in everything that was going on, and once again, it lived up to the hype. 100%. Now I do want to get your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, and I have a bit of a con when it comes to the chapter in particular. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But what did I like about the story? I mean, there were so many good things. Right off the bat, to me personally, once again, this is my opinion, it was suspenseful. It was dark, it was mysterious, right? And I love that in stories. It being dark, it being mysterious, it being suspenseful, keeping me on my toes. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was confused for the better half of it. It kept me guessing at each and every turn, trying to figure out what was going on, and that had me immersed. That had me wanting to learn more about what's happening. It had me fully involved with the story, and it gripped me in that type of way, where with most gacha games, they're pretty, I would say, not happy-go-lucky, but it's not too dark, right? There are only a handful of gacha games that I can think of personally that get dark and is a little more, I guess, adult, right? Not R-rated per se, but like PG-13 in a sense. It gave me those type of vibes, and I really enjoyed that, and that's what really kept me hooked on the story, wanting to know more about it. It was, once again, suspenseful. The dark aspect was like, they had blood. Once again, no spoilers, but there's blood. There's shooting that happens. There's some killing that goes on. Once again, not spoilers to who in particular and what happens. You definitely need to go ahead and do the story in the chapter for yourself. But all of that was going on in a gacha game where it's waifus and husbandos. I was not truly expecting that. So that caught me off guard a little bit. And once again, the mysterious aspect was just not really knowing what's happening, not really knowing what's going on, and being, you know, somewhat confused for the better half of it, until things were revealed, which once again leads me transitioning into the concept of it. I think it was a fantastic concept. I love the direction that they took with this chapter. I loved the idea behind it. I think it was phenomenally done, and I think it was such a great way to tell a specific story. So I love what they did with this chapter in terms of the concept, and the storytelling in my opinion was on point. I think the way they went about revealing things and the build up to the cliffhanger that happens on the end of this one was beautifully done. The storytelling was fantastic. You know, the pacing was really good. There were some slow parts, but for the most part, I think the pacing was really well done. I think the storytelling on how they got their message across in terms of what they were trying to convey was beautifully done as well. I think they did a really great job in doing that and telling, you know, what the story was and what it was about and what's going on, and then the reveal and then the cliffhanger. I think it was beautiful. I think what they did there was great, and how they went back to talk about certain things that already may have happened. Once again, trying to be, it's very tough to speak about this without spoilers, but without spoiling, yeah, great storytelling there. And then the writing, oh my goodness, I was reading this chapter, and whoever the writer is, they need a raise. Whoever you are, you need a raise. Yostar, Yongshi, give that man a raise, give her a raise, whoever it is, because the writing was exceptional. They were extremely descriptive when they were telling this chapter. It was beautifully done, the writing, and so kudos to them, the storytellers, the writers, the concept artists, everybody that was involved with chapter 12 so far deserves a raise. 100%. This chapter was peak Ether Gazer, and I mean, I'm so immersed that I just cannot wait. We have to wait 10 days before the next part of it, I believe, comes out, if I'm not mistaken, just based off of what this says. It's hard to wait 10 days to find out what happens next, because we understand what's going on for the most part, but there are still some things that are unanswered, some questions that I still have that I want to be answered. I have my speculations and I have my theories, but I do want to get some clarification and answers on those. So we have to wait, I believe, 10 days for that, and it's pretty hard. And that leads to, you know, why this was such a good chapter and why the storytelling was so good and why the writing was so good. Because it leaves me wanting more and to learn more about it. Now, the only con that I would have to say that I got from this chapter was I wish there was more cutscenes or animated scenes, I should say. There were some very gripping parts that were going on where I was like, hey, yo, what's happening here? Where I wish there was some animated scenes and some cutscenes. And once again, I know that goes into the revenue and how much they're generating. And I think at the time that they did this chapter, it wasn't really there for them to be able to do animated and cutscenes. But I wish there were more, because that would have locked me in even more. And some of those scenes, I think, would have been even more impactful if they were animated, or if they had animated cutscenes associated with them. My goodness, I can only imagine how much more gripping and how much more impactful those scenes would have been if they had them as animated scenes, right? That would have been over the top. That would have been peak. I mean, absolute. I mean, this is peak, but that would have been absolute peak. And they would have been cooking. But that's the only real con that I can think of. And then some parts of the pacing was just a bit slow. But once again, you're trying to stretch it out over a chapter and provide content. So that's a bit more understandable. So really, my only con was the cutscenes or animated scenes. I just wish there were more associated with it, and not so much just, you know, standstill background scenes that you were watching at with some frame shaking. I wish there was just more to that. But anyways, I mean, once again, it's phenomenal. Overall, phenomenal. And I want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions down below. This is just my review, trying not to spoil anything. If I did, I do apologize. I tried my best. It's hard to talk about it without doing that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you thought about this chapter. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. My name is Cody. You call me further. I'll see you all next one. Bye, guys.